For years, Katt Williams was treated like the loud guy in the room who said things people didn't want to hear. His jokes were laughed off, his warnings brushed aside, and his interviews clipped into memes instead of moments. But something shifted when old footage started resurfacing alongside newly released documents. Suddenly, people weren't laughing anymore. They were pausing, rewatching, connecting dots they once ignored. Because when you strip away the comedy, Katt wasn't ranting, he was pointing. And what made it uncomfortable wasn't how wild it sounded, but how familiar the names were. The same faces, the same circles, the same parties, the same explanations. What once felt like exaggeration started to feel like pattern recognition. And when official records began echoing things he'd hinted at years earlier, the question changed from, is he serious, to why did no one listen sooner?
Katt Williams didn't suddenly start talking. He's been saying the same things for years, just to rooms that didn't want to hear it. What changed wasn't his message, but the timing. When he appeared on Club Shay Shay, the energy felt different because the internet was already primed. Clips that once felt random now landed with weight. He wasn't offering proof or playing detective. He was describing behavior, power structures, how certain people move freely while others get erased. And that's what made viewers uneasy. He spoke like someone who had seen behind the curtain and realized the curtain only works if everyone agrees not to pull it back. The moment people stopped dismissing him as bitter was the moment his words stopped sounding isolated and started sounding connected.
One of the names that immediately sparked debate was Jay-Z. Supporters rushed to timelines, pointing out that certain accusations trace back to a period when he was supposedly just starting out. But that argument rests on a misunderstanding of how access works. Being new to fame doesn't mean being new to connections. The industry doesn't operate on album releases. It operates on proximity, on who introduces you to whom, on who vouches for you behind closed doors. When older footage resurfaced showing Jay in close orbit with powerful figures, people didn't claim it proved anything. They questioned optics, silence, alignment. Because in Hollywood, innocence isn't always about what you did. Sometimes it's about what you never questioned.
As attention widened, it wasn't just individual names under scrutiny, but environments, certain parties, certain social circles, certain events where the same people kept appearing. When leaked photos and resurfaced clips began circulating, viewers noticed how often jokes aged into something darker, how comments once framed as edgy humor suddenly felt like accidental honesty. Kanye's old rants, long mocked, were replayed with new ears, not because they were calm or polished, but because time had stripped away their shock and left behind uncomfortable consistency. When enough unrelated moments start pointing in the same direction, people stop calling it coincidence.
Then came the flight logs. Paper trails don't scream, but they don't forget either. When Chris Tucker's name appeared, his explanation followed quickly. A humanitarian trip, a borrowed plane, a misunderstanding. And on its own, that story might have passed. But body language, hesitation, and shifting details gave the public pause. Not outrage, doubt. Especially when Katt Williams had already made comments years earlier that suddenly felt less like insults and more like foreshadowing. The issue wasn't proof of wrongdoing, it was credibility. Because when powerful people all rely on the same defenses, people start questioning the script.
Bill Gates represented a different kind of discomfort. Not celebrity chaos, but polished control. His public regret over associating with Epstein was framed as a minor miscalculation. Just dinners, just conversations. But later disclosures complicated that narrative. Emails, timelines, and eventual divorce made people wonder how often influence shields truth. When someone insists they've explained something for the 100th time, it doesn't always signal transparency. Sometimes it signals exhaustion from being questioned. And for the public, it reinforced a growing belief that wealth doesn't erase mistakes, it delays consequences.
Naomi Campbell's name pulled the conversation into modeling and recruitment. Reports of multiple flights and emails raised eyebrows, not because of a single claim, but because of volume. Frequency invites questions. And rumors about how young models were introduced to powerful spaces blurred the line between opportunity and exploitation. Campbell denied knowledge, expressed disgust, and stood with victims. but the internet focused on access, on who could open doors and who benefited from doing so. Again, no verdicts, just unease. When Katt expanded his commentary to Ashton Kutcher and Nick Cannon, reactions split. Some weren't surprised, others felt it was too much. Ashton's long list of controversial alliances, leaked letters, and questionable advocacy blurred the image he once cultivated. Nick Cannon, while not directly tied to flight logs, voiced beliefs that echoed deeper fears about rituals, power, and what billionaires get away with. Whether exaggerated or sincere, the comments fed a sense that something was deeply off.
In the end, the most chilling realization wasn't any single name. It was how many people remain untouched, how loudly celebrities speak on every issue except this one. Katt Williams never claimed to be a savior. He claimed to be uncontrolled. And maybe that's what makes him dangerous to systems built on silence. Because once people stop laughing, they start listening. And once they start listening, they start asking questions that don't go away when the clip ends.